Good morning and welcome to a Facebook Live for Getting Creative with Peter's beautiful hand-painted spring florals. So bear with me while I just refresh my computer. So far so good. Okay. Oh, I hope I remember to turn my volume up. I know I have. Let me put my glasses on because you're coming in. Hello, Philippa. I just checked that I did. I'm sorry. Okay, just wanted to make sure I had put my volume up. I usually check before I come on and I totally forgot. Morning, Sam. Hi, Maxine. Hope you're all well. And I know that I've had a few messages. I had one from Maxine this morning to say that she caught up with all the videos and absolutely loved Peter's new stamps, which is lovely to hear. There were so many lovely comments actually yesterday. It was really lovely. Hi, Laura. Hi, Jill. Excellent. I have got my microphone in again. You can even see the little green light, I believe, to know that it's working. Oh, thank you, Claire. Oh, and yours are on the way. Excellent. Happy creating. Morning, Lane. Hope you're well, lovely. Hi, Virginia. Okay, so I'm going to do a slight variation on this card because I'm not very good at making the same card twice, but I had lots of comments about this card, so I'm going to do a variation on that. So, morning, Jane. Hi, Katie. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera and we will get started. So bear with me. Oh, other thing I must remember to say as well. Morning, Sue. I'm going to announce the winners of the card giveaway for the 9 o'clock launch yesterday and the 8 o'clock look at the cards and everything. So I'm going to announce the winners of the DT card giveaway at the end. So, oh, Samantha, yours is on its way. Excellent. It's coming on holiday with you. Oh, fantastic. Your goodies arrived this morning. Wow, Angie, that's amazing. Fantastic. Oh, what service. Oh, well, I can't wait to start seeing everybody's creations. So don't forget, put them either, best place to put them or the easiest place is in the Crafty Friends of Julie Hickey Designs. So I look forward to seeing what you all make with them now. That's fabulous. Okay, so let me just flip the camera and we'll get going. Morning, Lynn. Okay. Oh, I didn't put my weight on, did I? I have a weight that I put on my angle poise bit that holds my camera, but actually that's pretty good. Hi, Pam. Okay, so that's not a bad view, I don't think. Maybe if I just tilt it very slightly. Then we should get the bottom, get me out of the way, hopefully. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good view. So I am going to be using the Snowdrop stamps and the Thinking Thank Big sentiment stamp. I think I'm going to put Thinking of You on here, but I'm not sure yet, so we will see. And I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to do it on a piece of card that is 18 by 24, so it'll end up going in a 5 by 7 card envelope, because I was thinking that I could do my snowdrops onto that piece and then do my wording onto that piece, and I thought I'd use the beautiful Wow Polished Gold embossing powder. I know lots of you were asking where this is available from. I know that Wow have it on their website, and I know that the stockists will be getting it in very soon. I know that Hazel and Paul are going to be ordering it very soon as well, so Yep, they will be there. And there's polished silver as well. And I used them the other day. I don't know what I did with my pieces. I've got so many baskets with bits and pieces started all over the place. With different, I've got samples of new stamps that are coming up, and there's bits and pieces all over the place. But I will show you. I'm going to do the big, I'm going to emboss the big sentiment in the gold, because I thought that would look really lovely on here. And I have asked Marion well if we can have platinum, because the polished gold and silver is so beautiful. It looks like liquid metal. It's just incredible. So I asked her if I could have platinum, because you know how much I love platinum. Hi Jean and hi Joan. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to just explain the size of the cards that I've done. So I'm going to explain how I did this, but I just needed to get it all cut this morning so that I could tell you. So the piece I'm going to stamp on is actually 10 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres, and then I've cut it slightly bigger, so I've got a border all the way around the edge, and I actually cut it 10.2 by 7.2, so I added 7mm on. I mean, it looks more like 5mm to me, but when I measured it twice, it does say 10.2 and 10.7, so I have to believe the ruler. And then I've cut a piece. I didn't measure this. Oh, I measured that piece. Okay, so 5 by 10.5. So that shouldn't be the same size. It isn't. Oh, I don't think you'll see 2mm. Right, I'm not going to worry about it. You could cut it 10 by 7 by 5, and then do the one underneath 4.3 by 9.8. No, by 10, because it'll be 10.7. So if you want it to be the same as this one, because I'm not going to worry that there's 2mm difference, but I should really. So I'm going to change that and write on there so that you know. So this will be 10.7, and this would be, so take 7 off there, so that's 4. So it'd be 4.5, so it'd be 4.3 centimetres by 10 centimetres. There we go, and then you've got them exactly right. So yours will be perfect and mine won't quite be perfect. So I'm going to start by doing my snowdrops. No, actually, I'm going to start by showing you how I did these pieces, because then they can be drying. Okay, so, and I'm going to be using Rustic Wilderness. That isn't the colour that I used for this one. I think I did this one with my actual watercolour paints, but this is pretty close, and I think it's a nice colour for snowdrops anyway. So I'm going to use, let's bring my light back in, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to have Rustic Wilderness on here, and I'm just going to do it on 2 pieces of watercolour card, or I'll just do 1, I don't need to do 2, just to show you what I did, so that you know how I got to this finished bit. So I've got a paintbrush and some water, and I'm just mixing the water with my Rustic Wilderness. Bring that back in so you can see it. And all I did was paint. So I cut my pieces to the size, and then I painted around the edge. And all this is going to do is, because I want it to be the same colour as the colour I'm going to paint my card, but this is going to be the colour that I layer it onto. So I'm going to layer it onto this card and then onto my white card. And the reason I've done that, and I will show you, so that was all I did. Tried to not have too much colour in the corners. I just blend it a little bit so it's not an obvious line. Sometimes when you do that you make it worse. But once it's dried, and then all I did was I heat set it to dry it. And I do have a bit of lines, but it won't show. All you're going to see is a little tiny piece. around the edge. So if you do get those lines, they're not going to show when you start putting them on. And if you do get lines, put them in the bottom corners because your eye tends to go to the top. Now the reason that I did these coloured pieces is because I've used watercolour card. I don't actually like when it's cream on white, because the watercolour card is off white. When I put it onto, this is like a super smooth card, I don't like the difference in the colour. So by adding that layer and using the same colour ink as we're going to use to colour our flowers in, it just gives it a border and lifts it off your card, and it's taking the creaminess away from the white, so you don't notice it as much. So that is my reason for doing these pieces. So I heat set this just with my heat tool, or you can leave them to dry naturally, that's absolutely fine. And so I literally did this about 20 to 10. I suddenly thought I could get that done and it'll be dry, which does help. Then it means that I don't have to do that while you're sitting and watching, because I don't like having the heat tool on that much because of the noise. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to stop that noise like they do on the telly. Okay, so these are my other pieces. I'm going to put them to one side, and I'm now going to work on my snowflakes. My snowflakes, my snowdrops. Gosh, I'm getting into Christmas now. I'm going to move these waters out of the way a little bit, just while I do my stamping. I don't want to knock anything over. Okay, so I've got my piece of card, pop it in my press, and I'm going to take, I haven't made my storage yet. How bad is that? Until it's been busy when I haven't had a chance to make my stamp storage. Bad. I usually do it like first thing as well, like when I first get them. But it has been a little bit crazy. Alright, so I'm going to position that so I've got a nice border all the way around the edge, so that I can do this lovely soft watercolour effect, but do that around the edge, and I've still got a bit of room, even though I've cut it down considerably, because that was an A6 piece that I did it originally on. Now I have a dilemma now. I don't know whether to do this embossed, because it's going to give me a different, but it'll give me an edge to colour up against. So I'm going to emboss this, although I have touched the card so much, so I might not get a very nice embossing, but let's try. So I'm going to use my anti-static bag. Make sure some powder comes out, because there's hardly anything in here. I need to order myself another one, and I keep forgetting. Okay, so I'm using the Wow embossing ultra clear, no, sorry, the Wow embossing pad clear ultra slow drying, and this is, in my opinion, by far the best embossing pad there is. It stays open, so it means that you can emboss for such a long time. In fact, Marion did a test, and I'm fairly certain it was 48 hours. So if, like before she needed, it would still hold the powder up to 48 hours after she'd stamped it out. Now, that to me is amazing, because I know so many times I've been in the middle of embossing, somebody knocks at the door or something happens and you stop halfway and the powder won't stick. So I just couldn't believe how long it stayed open. But it's also ultra sticky. So I just think it is a really good embossing ink pad. So I'm going to cover this all with gold, polished gold. Give that a good tap. Did I do it the right way? No, I didn't. I even drew on the back, use it this way, and I've done it the other way. So I might need to do a bit of cutting down. Never mind. We'll get round it. It's not the end of the world. And I've done it now. So let's heat emboss it, and then we'll have a look at what we need to do to put it right. Got one little bit there. Okay, so I'm going to heat my heat tool, let it heat up, and then I'm going to heat it. I'm going to try and do it from underneath, and see if it works this time. So let's have a go. See if I can get it far enough away so that I can heat it from underneath. It's starting to go now. So as soon as you start to see it go, you need to move your heat tool and just go systematically around the design, just ensuring that you're getting every little bit. I do about half and then I tend to turn it around so I'm holding it at the other end. And I do believe I'm actually capturing this. You're actually being able to see it happen. Right, so then I always just come over the top and just give it a little waggle on the top just to make sure I haven't missed any pieces. And then it is always good just to hold it in the light and tilt it, and just to make sure that you have heated everything up. Isn't that beautiful though? It's like, honestly, it's like liquid. It's very different to the normal metallic golds. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so that's the bit that, so we've done our snowflakes, snowdrops. Why do I keep calling them snowflakes? Okay, so we've done our snowdrops, so now we're going to colour these in. I'm just going to wipe my mat, so I've got some embossing powder on it. Okay, so I'm going to bring my Rustic Wilderness in, and I'm going to bring a better paintbrush, because when I was doing this, the paintbrush that I was using was just for the background. So let's bring my nicer brush in now. So I'm going to mix this with some water. So just got my brush with some water on it. And so I've watered down the colour so it's ready. And all I'm going to do to start with, that's not got enough water. You really want the paint to flow and like to get these splodgy bits. And because it's embossed, it's got that lovely edge to paint up against. And it just makes it, that embossing does make it much easier to do this. So you're just wanting that really loose colour. That's what I'm trying to say. So you want it quite wet. Because we're using watercolour card, I can afford to put that much water down on my card and it's not going to affect it. If I've got too heavy with the colour, if I go back in and just get some water on my brush, I can actually lift some of that colour away as well. And if you need a bit more colour just to fill in these little bits, these little gaps, you can go back in and pick up more colour as well. So you just really want that really nice loose. So it's the water that helps it to flow. If you get bits where you think there's not enough colour there, just go back in and put a little bit more in. But it really is, it's how you like it looking. So just, I'm going to fill in all the gaps first of all, and then I'm going to come in and actually paint the stems. And I'll use a much stronger colour when I come to do the actual colouring of the stems and the leaves and the grass at the bottom. So you could almost fade it out. It's really nice if you have a really nice wobbly line. This is what I liked about this. I got a really lovely wobbly edge to it. And you do have to remember I was using actual paints when I did that, rather than I'm using an ink pad. But it still works beautifully. And as well, we've got a different look this time because of doing the peat embossing as well. So you can come back in and add little puddles of stronger colour as well. Right, so I think I've just about got, yep, I'm quite happy with that. I've got some, definitely got some splodges here, and to make it look more like a watercolour bag, I don't want a solid background, I don't want it to look perfect. I want it to be really loose looking. Oh, thank you, Kim, that's lovely. I was really pleased with it, and I do think it's very simple, but it was very effective. But I'm not sure it's my favourite one out of all the DT. Okay, so I only want a little bit of water now because I want a much stronger colour. And this I'm going to put in all the tops of the snowdrops. So where it's the widest part to use with my brush. And then I put a little bit in the very top of the petals. So just a little bit. And then I will come back in a minute and make that more watery. So the bits that are just on the petals. So I start off with it being strong, and then I can come back in with a more watery effect and take some of it away. So just coming down the stems. I'm not bothered if I go over the edge. I think it gives it that hand painted look a little bit more. Definitely want to take my time to go over the grass at the bottom here and give that so that you've got some definite colour in the actual grass. Any bits you missed as you're doing this, and you can see them, you can come back. I would come back in with the watery paint, but do that afterwards. So concentrate now on just filling in all your grass, and then any background pieces that you feel need a bit more colour, but a light wash we'll come in and do afterwards. Don't be tempted to do it with your darker wash that you've got now, because it's going to detract from the actual grass bits that are there. So do them afterwards. But for me, this is the bit that I love. I forget to talk sometimes. I'm sorry, I will read the comments in a second. I know Philippa's watching, so I know Philippa will answer any questions. But I always have a read afterwards anyway, once the live is finished. I find it really hard to try and read the comments and concentrate on what I'm doing and talk. Okay, so just that stronger colour, trying to keep it, if I can, in the lines, but if I go over, I'm not too worried, like I say, because it is, I just think it's like hand painted. And because it's embossed, it does help to keep it inside the lines. So that stronger colour just on the tips, that very top part underneath. I don't know what that bit at the top's called that holds the petals. But anyway, just a little bit of colour in there, in the stronger colour, and then I will come back in a second with my brush and some water and just soften it out a little bit. So I think that is all my stems and all the flower buds done. So I'll give that a chance to dry. So I'm going to make sure I've got a lot of water on my brush and it's softer again. And there's just a few areas down here that need that little bit of colour put in, but that wash rather than the darker colour. Just bits that I missed. That's looking better. Okay, so now we just want water on our brush. Doesn't matter if it's slightly green, but we just want water. And then I'm just going to literally soften this colour a little bit. It might make the colour bleed down a little bit, but it will soften and like fade out, if you like. So just on that very top part, just adding some water, and it just loosens it off. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it a bit better. But sometimes it helps to get rid of if you've got any solid lines, and it just gives it a bit more of a watercolour-y. Hand painted, there we go, that's what I needed to say. If we soften that up a little bit. Right, so now if I bring it up, you can see now how beautiful those petals are starting to look. But you've got a bit of deeper colour and then you've got that paler colour. I feel like an artist. Okay, let me whiz back and just read. I saw there was a couple of comments, so. Okay, so hi. I don't think I said hello to Joan. I can't remember if I did or didn't. I'm sorry. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Diane. Hi, Sean. Hi, Christine. I read Kim's. What size brush are you using? I am using a number 10. So it's a number 10. It's got quite a nice fine point. So it does go almost down to nothing. I'll get some paint on here. So you can get really nice fine lines with it. But you can also get really nice big lines with it. So it's a number 10, but it is a really nice pointed number 10. It's not a round. I think this is classed as a round brush. I'm not very up on my brushes, I have to say. And this one hasn't got a number on it. Oh, it did. This is that looks like a number 11. But I think this is probably more, I don't know, it has got a bit of a point. I think that's classed as a round. That's a 12. I think that's classed as a round. I wanted something, when I bought this one, I wanted something that's much more of a point. But yeah, brushes are really important. In fact, Merv bought me a really nice one for Christmas, but I put it away with my watercolour paints. Thank you, Lynn. That's a beautiful card. Hi, Lisa. Oh, that's lovely that you're all loving this card. Thank you. I do think Peter's really captured it with the Snowdrops. I have to say, I think this probably is my favourite of the stamps, and especially with what I created. I think the Snowdrops, I really enjoyed the Snowdrops. I absolutely love what Joe did with the tulips. I think they're probably my favourite cards, the tulip ones that Joe did. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Oh, thank you, Philippa. I don't feel like an artist. Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely love the heat embossing. Now, because we put a lot of water on this, you need to be careful. If I stood this up, this is going to dribble, so we don't want that to happen. You can heat it. I will heat it, but you need to be careful because we've already done the embossing on there. And also, it's water. When you do anything with a lot of water, it's much nicer if you actually let it dry naturally. But I will heat it because we need it to dry so I can get on. And I will do the other bit of embossing as well. So So like any time that you heat, I would always lift it up now. Something I learnt recently, I would always have heated like this. And you just end up with a lot of condensation on the back of your card that way. So lift it up and always heat it from the back as well, because that will help to straighten everything out. I could blot it as well, like with kitchen roll, but the trouble when you blot it, it really lifts the colour, and it can really like just take all the sap all the colour out of it. I know I've done that, but I just think that's amazing. I think that looks beautiful. Really chuffed with that. Okay, so I'm going to put it onto my piece of card. I'm going to do my embossing first, so this is all going to have a little bit more chance to dry. I think I'll be okay, actually, even though I did it the wrong way up. But is that the right way up? No, that's meant to go that way. Okay, so we might have... Yeah, see, then I've made that too wide, because now that's only 10.2. Right, so let's alter that before... I'll trim that down. So we'll go with 10.2. I think it'll still work on the card all right, because I stamped it the wrong way. Yeah, that'll be okay. So I need to make this the same size as this. So let's bring my cutter in. So all I've done is I've used it up the wrong way. So I'm just going to trim this so that we've got the same size pieces of card. So this is now down to 9.5. So that will be fine, I think, for my sentiment. And so this then needs to be the same as that. So I'm getting it right. I just line the two up together. Make sure I've got this edge lined up. Put it in my guillotine. So that's 10 now. And I know where it cuts. So now I know I've got a big enough border still with my green. Yes, perfect. Okay, so we're all sorted again now. We've trimmed it down to both be the same size. Okay, so let's take I'm going to move these now. I don't know if I clean my brush properly. Kind of my expensive brush being green later when I go and paint something pink. That would be awful. Okay, let's move the water out of the way. Let's take my snowdrops out. Maybe I'll make my stamp storage today. I think I might. Although I've got lots of things I've got to get done. Never mind. I just like making cards. Why can't I just do that? Okay, so going to do the thinking in the gold embossed on this piece of card. So definitely make sure I wipe with my anti-static bag, because I've touched this card so many times. And I'm going to put my thinking down, and then I need another piece of card for my of you. So I could put that in there and use that to hold both pieces. And I just want of you. I might as well do that at the same time. Oh. Actually, I could do it and we'll do it in one go, actually. Does that look lined up? Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks fine. If not, I can always cut it apart. This looks okay. I'll make sure it's all butted up, just in case. Whoops, I need to redo it. So you want it right into the corner, so you know if you want to line it up again, if for any reason it doesn't work. Like if you've inked your stamp and it hasn't come out properly or whatever, then you know that you can do that. Okay, so stamp that, not too hard, bit firmer with your thinking, because you've got a nice solid stamp. And because I'm going on to watercolour card, I'm going to stamp it again, and I'm only going to hope, because it did pop up, that I've pushed it back into the same place, and I'm just going to re-ink that. If I didn't, I will do it again. No big shakes. Okay, so then I have my gold embossing powder. Give that a good tap. Make sure any bits around the edge especially are all gone. So that's ready to be embossed, heated up. Got that of you. My powder back in. And like I did say, I know that Wow will have this at the moment on their website, the polished gold and silver. And I know it's a new powder, so lots of the stockists will be getting it. And I have asked Hazel and Paul, and they will be getting it in soon. Everyone has to do like minimum orders when they do orders with companies. So sometimes if they bring stuff out and you don't need anything else, it might just be a little while before you get the powder in. Okay, so heating this from underneath. As soon as it starts to go, we can move it along. How fab does that look though? Woo! Just looks beautiful. And it will have a slight texture because we've done it onto watercolour card. So if this was on super smooth, you'd probably get a little bit smoother finish to the embossing. Oh, it's just beautiful though. Honestly, when you see this in real life, it's very different. It is like liquid metal. It's beautiful. And then the of you as well. Okay, so let's put our card together. So like I say, this is a piece of 18 by 24 that I've scored in half at 12, and it will now fit a 5 by 7 envelope. I know it's all crazy centimetres and inches being mixed up, but okay. So with my piece of card that I've got my nice border around, which is also Rustic Wilderness, but just watered down, that I did before and dried. So I'm going to place that on my piece of card, making sure my border is about even, and then I can firm that down, always making sure you've really got nice contact around the edges. Okay, and then we'll have the snowdrops onto my backing card. And if you leave this to dry naturally, once it's dried, you can always put it underneath I always put it under my plates of my die cutting machine, put it between the plates, and then put the die cutting machine on the top. Make sure I've got it nice and even, yep. And then so the weight of it will flatten it nicely for you as well. I just leave it under there for like half an hour or so. I usually do that while I go on and make the next card. and then I get the card out, keep swapping them underneath the die cutting machine so I know that they're nice and smooth. Then we've got this piece to go on our card. And how I do this to know that I've got it in the right place is I make sure I've got a nice border at the top and the two sides. As long as that's equal, then that's fine, and I'll work out where to put the thinking of you in the bottom part of my card. But I know that I want those three borders to be equal. So then I've got this piece to go in here, and then I'm going to cut of you out, and I'm going to place it over the top of the thinking a little bit. So let's glue this one on as well. So again, I can determine the border at the bottom and the sides. Quite happy with the gap in the middle. That is fine. And then just with my scissors, I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to leave a little border around the edge, but I am following the shape of the actual word. I'm going to cut this as two. It actually helps me with the spacing and everything as well then. So just, and I tend to move the piece of card rather than my scissors when I'm cutting. Well, that's what you should try and do, and that way it's actually much easier to get the nice roundedness around the letters as well. Okay, so we've got the U, and we just need the of. So just take your time. Do like to get rid of any big bits that get in the way or hinder you trying to cut it. Just make it a bit easier for yourself. Okay, so we've got our thinking of. So I think we're going to do down there. I was going to, I don't think I want it. No, I think I'm going to have it just at the bottom there. I was thinking about doing it with foam pads, but I'm going to do it with the glue directly onto the card. So I'm going to bring that so it's the of is slightly over my K, and then we can put the U, bring that up. Excuse my head if I'm getting it in the way. Just need to line it up a little bit. Okay, and then we could have some glosses. So I just need to grab my glosses. I always forget to get them out, and they're hidden over the back there. Oh, it would look nice with gold glitter ones. So I'm going to have, actually I'm going to have one down there, and I'm going to have one there, and I'm going to put one on the side. Oh look, it'd be like over the eye. Oh, that's a good point. Let's move that a little bit, because I don't want it to look like the dot of an eye. I suppose you could, it wouldn't matter. Okay, so I've got some gold glittery glosses on there, and if you want to, and I can't really resist, a little bit of Stickle Stardust, And all I would do is put a little bit in the top of the petals. I need to find out what that word is for the top of the flower there, where the petals come out. But that's all I'm doing, is a little bit of glitter glue on there and just down a little bit. Could do the stems if I wanted to, but because we've embossed this, it makes it harder to get the glitter glue into that area. But so just got those little bits of sparkle on the flowers and those gold glosses. Oh, so I think I've got something totally different this time, but both done in exactly the same way. Right, let's have a little look at the any questions. Okay, so Pam's saying that she's no good with heat embossing and it always goes over the place. The one thing that people make a big mistake about, and they quite often heat from the top, which is fine. Like for 20 odd years I've heated from the top. It's not a problem. If you heat from underneath, you do get a smoother finish. But the thing that most people do is they do this with their heat tool. And so all that's doing, and especially if you don't have a heat tool like the WOW one that has a lot of heat, lots of them have a lot of air that comes out. So if you're doing this while you're heat embossing, you're just blowing the powder everywhere. So if you can learn to just go up and down and systematically over your embossing, you'll find that you get a lot less mess of it flying everywhere. Also, I can't stress how much I need to use an anti-static bag, and also a very good well-inked ink pad. If you don't have an ink pad that's nice and juicy and got lots of ink in it, your powder is going to blow about. So yeah, I can't recommend the WOW embossing powder. Everything WOW, I have to say, is just amazing. So what else? It can be tricky to start, but you do need to keep persisting, definitely. So with the fussy cutting, I'm not very good at fussy cutting. All I do is I always leave, I mean, I've done a very small border there. Normally I leave a bigger border, and then that way you're making it bigger each time when you're fussy cutting, so it's much easier. Practice does make perfect, definitely. Okay, right, let me flip the camera because I want to do the winners as well. Let's get back properly. Okay, I would highly recommend, I can't tell you how much that liquid gold on this, sorry, I keep calling it liquid gold, that's what I want to call it. the polished gold and the polished silver, absolutely beautiful powders. When I got them, it was just like, they're metallic. How can they be so different? But they every time WOW do something that does make them different. So yeah, highly recommend those. You are more than welcome with the tips. I wish there was some way that I could, like maybe come round and help you, but obviously I can't do that. And I do know that I've watched people doing it, and it is waving the heat tool around too much. Try and hold it still. Try and work slowly and systematically over your piece, and I'm sure you'll get better results. And definitely, even if you've got a WOW embossing ink pad, it needs re-inking from time to time, and they have now, or recently, bought out they call it a conditioner and a freestyle tool. It's got a roller ball on the top, and all you do is with your ink pad is you take the roller ball and you go over the top of your ink pad. I don't know if you can see, sorry. So you're literally re-inking your ink pad. And you need to do that. I would do this about 20 minutes before you want to have a go with it. I thought that was a bit grotty one. It's my old one. This doesn't look much better. But yeah, do that about 20 minutes before you want to use it. Let the ink settle in. But I always store my ink pads upside down so that the ink is always at the surface when I'm ready, when I want to use them. Yeah, so, okay. So I'm going to announce the winners. So the people, I'm actually going to do two, there's so many sample cards. I'm going to do 2 people from 9 o'clock yesterday, and the 2 people who won, who are going to win the DT, a sample card from each member of the design team, is Hilary Young and Donna Smith. So they're the people who won from the 9 o'clock yesterday. And then from the 8 p.m. last night, the people who win a selection of cards from the design team are Anne Mullett and Pauline Maddock-Jones. So I will put a little post up separately to this as well, announcing the winners, and I will contact you all to get your addresses. And yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget, if you want to treat yourself, there's a list of stockists pinned to the top of the Julie Higgins Designs Facebook page. They are available from Dragon's Papercraft, from Hixie Soft Crafts, from Craft Bliss, from Let's Create, from Luby Crafts, from Craft Stash, The Art of Craft, and Maximum Crafts. And they have landed in America, so they will be on Simon Says Stamps website any day. So thank you for joining me, and have a lovely weekend. And I will be back next week with another make using Peter's collection. So thanks ever so much for joining me, and have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.